What's going on, world? What's going on? What's going on, world? YouTube, wherever you may be in the world, or whatever medium you happen to be looking at this video, whether it be through YouTube or some other site. I just want to let you know that it's your boy, to Arthur, right back at that ass again. There's another one. I just want to make this brief video, man. I don't know how many of you know about this brother, but this brother, and I say brother in truth, he made this site called Tupac Hoax Revealed, and I just wanted to do not so much a review, but to add on to what he's saying, because for those of you who don't know about the channel, he pretty much talks about Tupac and how, like, a lot of people like glorify Tupac. I know when I grew up, man, I had a friend. His name was Irvin, man. He swore by Tupac. When Tupac was shot, I was a teenager in high school. I never really always thought something was wrong with the way he wrong about him, but certain songs I like when my homies called, Papa's song, things of that nature. One of my favorite movies is Juice. Juice, to my generation, is kind of what the movie Cooley High was to the generation before me. So he was a part of all that, the movies as well, Poetic Justice, so on and so forth. But to make a long story short, growing up, man, he could do no wrong, man. And he kind of started off with Brenda's Got a Baby. And then once he took the turn to because at first with Digital Underground he was pretty cool, but then when he took the turn is when he made Thug Life, and that's when all of a sudden the thug element came out, and this brother made this channel because and Tupac went through a lot of or whoever Tupac is, I'll get to that later, but the rapper went through a lot of trials and tribulations, as a lot of you may know. Even those of you who weren't born during the time that he was going through the changes, he was shot in the studio, and went through a lot of different scenarios. Back when he was supposedly going in and out of jail, I was growing up when this was happening, and the only people who was getting in trouble during that time was him and Slick Rick. Slick Rick was locked up because he killed somebody, and he stayed in jail. And Tupac was in and out constantly. So, but this brother, anyway, the brother who made the Tupac Hoax, Tupac Hoax Revealed channel, talks about how it's real funny how a lot of that stuff that people believed about when Tupac was shot 5 times and made it to court the next day, and all these things. The brother just does he just breaks down how these events could not have been true. That we were pretty much fooled as kids and as adults into thinking that Tupac was this thug revolutionary, when really he was just a pawn, or maybe even a undercover officer or a CIA agent. Just infiltrating the music, trying to cause dishevel or trying to cause disarray in the hip hop element component, meaning he was trying to formulate the kids' minds into wanting to be thugs, because just like your boy, what's his name? What's my man's name? Kwame. Like Kwame said in his interview, man, prior to 1992, most rappers didn't even curse in their music because he said it was very unnecessary. You know what I'm saying? And brothers were too intelligent for that. And brothers at that time was trying to prove, because we had a lot of negative stereotypes about blacks, and brothers was trying to prove the opposite. Especially young brothers during that time, during that late 80s, early 90s crack era, brothers were trying to prove that, hey, man, we're not everything that the media says we are, even though you'll see a murder every night. We are articulate young brothers with a voice. And all of a sudden that message got turned on his head, and it went from brothers showing how intelligent they were by using acronyms for their name, like Big Daddy Kane, and Kane stands for King Asiatic, nobody's equal, and KRS-One, knowledge reigns supreme over almost nearly everyone. Knowledge reigns supreme over almost nearly everyone, or something like that. But anyway, all that clever stuff has been thrown to the wayside. But to make a long story short, this brother has made this channel exposing Tupac, and how not only Tupac was an agent, but maybe even some members of the Black Panther Party were agents, and how the CIA pretty much they create your heroes, so they create agents to infiltrate the music, and they create these images that pretty much are made to confuse the masses, and to keep the kids off balance. And the main element is to keep you confused, and ultimately, if you're confused, you'll help destroy yourself. And this video is about one component that kind of bothered me. I was sitting in the car thinking about this, man. It was the time just talking about the Tupac element. It always bothered me when that night in Quad Studios, the first time he was shot, it was in '94. I heard about it on the news. Now it was that was the year before my grandmother passed. And I remember going to school with my friend Irvin, who was the Tupac fan. We were talking about Tupac, and I was like, I heard he got shot. He was like, nah, man, Tupac in jail, because, after he supposedly was shot 5 times, right? So Tupac took 2 shots to the head, 2 to the cock. So he took 2 to his balls, and I forgot where the other one went, but he was shot 5 times. He took 2 to the head, right? So supposedly, when I was in the car, I was thinking about this childhood moment, me talking with this brother that I used to go to high school with, and I went ahead and went on Google and Googled it, and it says that he checked himself out of the hospital, right, and went to court the next day. And you can see, you can go on to YouTube and see him in the wheelchair being pushed in the court, with someone pushing him in a wheelchair. Now, he was supposedly shot the previous day, checked himself out of the hospital, right? 2 shots to the head, 2 to the balls, and then another one, right? So he shot 5 times and was able to check himself out of the hospital and still make it to court. Now, that made me think of a friend of mine. I had a childhood friend of mine when I was had my junior year in high school. Him and his pop was in that dope game, man, and I think his pop might have been in it too. They had a real nice place, and my man was saying that this guy tried to rob him. He hopped in the car, so his somehow him and the dude started struggling for the gun, and somehow his pop got involved because people heard about it on the radio. And I didn't even hear about it on the radio, but they were making signs for him in class, and I went to go see him because I personally used to hang out with dude. So I came and saw him, and he was telling me the story because they had to let him go home from the hospital. So anyway, he was in the car going back and forth with this dude with a gun. Because before, when I was first hanging out with him, they was just trying to get big, and then he eventually started making his money in that gang. So a dude jumped in the car and tried to rob him, so they was going back and forth with the gun. My man's father came out, because I knew his father too. His father came out, took a screwdriver and trying to break the dude's hand loose from the gun, because my man grabbed the gun and the dude pulled on him. So somehow dude broke loose, started shooting at my man Joy's father, right? And he shot his father, and Joe said he jumped in the way of the gun to protect his father, and he was hit 3 times in the back. when he was shot. I think his father became paralyzed from the shots, and he took three to the back. The cops were able to get 2 bullets out. I think I heard about it. I came and visited him 2 weeks later. He was laying down on his couch. He could barely get up, man. This was 2 weeks. Now he ain't take no shots to the head. He didn't take no shots to the balls. He took 3 in the back, right? So thank God it didn't sever his spine, nothing like that. And he was telling me about the story, and it was just me and him sitting up there talking. Of course, he was upset. Of course, he wanted to retaliate. But as his father was paralyzed, he was hit. So him and his father was shot due to that drug thing. So, or the idiot trying to rob him. So this weeks after, my point is, the weeks after, my man Joey still couldn't walk. He was still laying down. Now this is after taking 3 shots to the back. He ain't take no shots to the head. He ain't take no shots to the balls. You know what I'm saying? This is after taking 3 to the back. And the doc took 2 out. Now, I'm thinking to myself, this dude, now Tupac supposedly took, now my man Joey survived. You know, he ended up, walking and things of that nature. Now he survived. Now this man Tupac, the first time he was shot, he took 5. So he took 2 more than Joey. And in more crucial places, supposedly. 2 in the head and 2 in the balls. How the fuck do you make it to court after that? You know what I'm saying? My man, it was weeks after they let him go, he couldn't stand up. He was laying down, and he eventually, and if he didn't have to move, he was on crutches. And this was just taking 3 in the back. The lower back into the buttock. This wasn't taking 2 to the head. To the head, bro. And that's what my man was talking about on Tupac Hoax revealed that this supposedly Tupac took 2 to the head and he had no scars, no bullet wounds, no scars. 2 shots to the head, no scars. 2 shots to the balls or to the dick, and then another shot. Cause you get hit 2 times in the balls with a bullet, you're not get. If you live, come on, man, that's gonna be weeks, months, maybe even years of physical therapy. You're not going anywhere, bro. You ain't gonna be able to check yourself out of nowhere. And once I started thinking about it, because I mean this shit happened. I think Tupac, I think Joy was shot maybe a year after Tupac. And I didn't think about it back then. I was like 16, 17. So I just took everything with a grain of salt. I didn't really analyze it. But now, at 40, I'm thinking about this shit. And I'm like, and now that my man has made this channel, Tupac's Hoax Revealed, I'm thinking about this shit like, man, and that always bothered me, though. But I didn't have a way to verbalize it. And I couldn't prove it. Back then in 94, 95, there was no internet. Internet didn't start to get big until like 99, 2000. And even then, it was a site here, a site there. It wasn't until YouTube came out where, you could watch one video and then see a whole bunch of related videos. And you can just start, watching a lot of other content. Without having to search for it. You didn't have to search hard for people. Because before the World Wide Web was very divided. But now that there are certain mediums, now, it's easier to find people and see people. But, yeah, my man has a point. He said Tupac was shot 2 times in the head, no scars. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I was thinking. You shot 2 times in the head, 2 times in the balls, and you still make it to court. Bro, you ain't going nowhere. But and my man Joey couldn't even walk. Bro, I was sitting there looking at him. When he sat up, I saw the patch on his lower back. where there were a few bullet entry wounds, and he had a cup where the other bullet was in the cup next to the couch. And the whole time I'm talking to dude was laying down, man. He might have sat up a few times. He barely moved. And you talking about this dude got hit 2 times in the head, 2 times in the balls, and you going to court? You ain't going no goddamn where you get hit 2 times in the nuts. You get kicked in the nuts, it'll be hard to make it to the toilet. You get kicked in the nuts, it's gonna be hard to make it to the damn courtroom. 2 shots? You was shot twice in the balls? And you still made it to court? First of all, fuck court if I get shot 2 times in the balls. You can come and get me. You know what I'm saying? Because I was shot in my dick 2 times. You know, the fuck court. I don't care if you lock me up when I heal. I ain't going to no goddamn court. If it's any reason to dismiss a case or to push a case off, it's because I done been shot in my balls twice, 2 shots in the balls and then in the head. Nigga, man, I can't believe I never thought about that shit. But I mean, with his channel coming out, it's just bringing a lot of shit to light. If y'all haven't watched it, y'all should check it out. But it's just that main component right there. I was on my lunch break the other day, and I was just thinking about that shit. Like, yeah, man, I actually knew somebody who was shot almost as many times as he was shot the first time. Now, of course, the second time in Vegas, supposedly when he was killed, he was shot another 4 or 5 times, supposedly. But the first time he was shot in New York City, what supposedly sparked the East Coast, the supposed East Coast and West Coast war, and what supposedly came between him and Biggie was the first time he got shot in Quad Studios, which you could obviously see in the movie, and you can see that on YouTube as well. But dog, that used to bother me, but I couldn't really, talk about it back then. But that used to bother me because I used to always think, like, how the fuck did he manage to, even before Joey got shot, before I was like, how the fuck would he make it to court the next day after being, that just didn't sit right with me. But I didn't have anybody to talk to back then, because if I'd have mentioned that to my man Irvin, he didn't went cry. Like, what the fuck you doing? Because he was a Tupac fan. And my other man, he wasn't really a Tupac fan at all, so he didn't really even talk about it. But that used to kind of always sit wrong. It didn't sit right with me. I was like, well, how the fuck is he going to make it to court? I mean, you could be tough as hell, but I just passed it off as, well, maybe he was a tough dude. But, now that I'm thinking back, when I actually saw Joey with the shots in him, he could barely move, bro. And that was with 3. That was with 3 to the back. You talking about 2 in the head? You took 2 in the head? Nigga, it's amazing. Let me take my 19 crimes commercial set. That's some good red wine too. That's some good shit. But yeah, man, I mean, bro, y'all should check them out too, man. Tupac Hoax Revealed. If you put in Tupac Hoax, HOAX Revealed, REVEALED. Check this brother's channel out, man. Good content. He talks about pretty much every element of Tupac. The Las Vegas scene. He talks about the Suge Knight type thing. Tupac's the sexuality component. The first time he was shot, no bullet wounds. How he was able to violate parole on numerous occasions. How he was supposedly locked up for sexual assault, but got off clean for shooting 2 white off-duty police officers. You get off by doing that, but you go to prison for, supposedly touching this female. I mean, all types of crazy shit. And during this time when I was growing up, he was the only one in and out of trouble like that. So supposedly. But yeah, it could be a CIA element to that, man. But I mean, I can't believe, now that I think back on it and now seeing his videos. I mean, I should have known, man. I mean, that shit is clearly a hoax, because I saw with my own eyes the aftermath of somebody being shot. And I should have known that that was bullshit. Because I was sitting right on the couch, on a chair right next to where my man was laying down, looking at him. And I saw the patch on his back where the actual bullets was in there. And I saw how he really didn't have no energy, man. How he was just pretty much drained. Yeah, because when you come within inches of losing your life like that, man, your recovery, you're very weak, man. You've been shot. After you've been shot, you're very weak, man. You could barely sit up, especially if you if you take one bullet, it'll take something out of you for recovery. It could be months before you recover. 2 or 3 weeks after, forget about it, bro. You lay, because he was laying down the whole time he was talking to me. He never. I don't think I didn't even see him stand up that first time I came over. He was stretched out on that couch, man, and he sat up. And you can see the patch on his back. And he said since he was in the gang, cops asked him, you know, who did it. And he said he didn't know. They didn't show him respect because they knew he was a hustler, you know. But he was actually a smart dude, and he was a good dude. He just was he was one of those dudes who he was in more advanced classes than I was in. He was in pretty much advanced classes. Like the higher reader, like in 9th grade, he was in those Regents classes in almost all his subjects, but he liked that money, man. But not to make a long story short, check out that Tupac's Hoax channel, man. That shit reminded me of that. But yeah, let me know what you think. Be sure to like, subscribe, and I catch you cats later, man. I'm gonna have another video coming out very soon. It's gonna be back on my other shit, you know what I usually talk about, gender, politics, and shit like that. So y'all stay up, y'all stay safe, and it's your boy, the author. I'm out.